Hello and welcome to the Car Care Nut channel. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through the inspection process of certified used cars, certified pre-owned, whatever you want to call it. But before we get started, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. If you are a returning subscriber, well, thank you so much for watching another one of my videos. And without further ado, let's get right into it. So a small overview before we get started. Certified pre-owned cars, they're almost like new cars. The only thing that dings them from a new car is they have miles and they've had a previous owner. The inspection of certified cars is not that the same of just the regular used cars. It's a very meticulous inspection. Every manufacturer will have a different criteria of what they want checked and what's acceptable and what's not. Today, we are at a Toyota dealership. We're actually going to look at actual certified used cars that they have. And my regular viewers will notice that we are not in the usual setup. We are at a Toyota dealership, which I'd like to give a huge shout out for Breedman Toyota in Park Ridge, Illinois, for allowing us to come in here, film in their shop, and use their cars for this filming. Folks, the inspection process of certified cars cannot be taken lightly because most of you, the consumers, will actually pay more for certified cars because it went through this rigorous inspection process. In today's video, I'm going to show you this process for Toyota certified cars. Now, this might vary from manufacturers, but it's pretty much the same. This needs to be treated as a perfect car. It cannot have any blemishes, cannot have any issues. Even the littlest thing needs to be taken care of. And since we are talking about Toyota certified cars, let's share one thing. Toyota certified cars go through a 160-point inspection and this whole 9 yards that when you go looking, Googling on the internet, but I'll actually show you what really happens and what are the important things. And perhaps you could use this information if you're going out to buy one, or if you're not so sure about the dealership you're buying from, you can actually redo this inspection and you'll pick out if they did a good inspection or they missed a lot of things and this car shouldn't be certified. Having said that, let's pull the car in and start talking about the inspection process. So every Toyota certified inspection actually does not start with the mechanic bringing the car in, looking at it and all that good stuff. It actually starts with the sales department. Usually certified used cars, somebody trades it in for a new car, they buy it here, buy it there, whatever the case may be. So once they get the car, they're actually gonna run an extensive background check on the car. Background check, that is a word usually not used with cars, but here's how this works. They're going to look at the Carfax, they're going to look at the auto check, they're going to look at multiple sources to make sure there's nothing obviously bad about this car. Has it been in major accidents, the title doesn't have any issues, and everything looks right. They're basically trying not to waste their time and, most importantly, money, because believe it or not, the sales department actually pays the service department to do this inspection. So if they see any red flags before it even goes to the service department, they're just gonna condemn the car and forget about it from then. After they have done their checks and life is good and we like this car, we want to try to certify it, see what we can do with it, they're gonna send it to the service department. Now when it arrives at the service department, this is where the dealerships will split. Some dealerships will have guys dedicated to working on used cars. Some dealerships will have all their regular technicians working on used cars. I happen to work at a dealership where everybody works on used cars. That means master technicians will work on used cars and certified level technicians will also work on used cars and certified to certify them. So I am a Toyota Master Diagnostic Technician with over a decade of experience. I've done this inspection multiple times throughout my career, so we're going to walk through it here. So the first thing in the inspection process as a technician when you get the car is a test drive. And this is where dealership technicians will have an edge over others. Not because they're better, not because of all this stuff, I'm not just saying that, but because they work on one brand all the time. So for example, this 2018 RAV4 behind me, I have driven this car when it was brand new. I have driven one with 200,000 miles with 10, 20, 30, 40, all the different miles. I've seen all their common problems. I have worked on these inside and out. I am very familiar with the car. So just by getting in the car, going to drive it, I can tell things that many folks might not notice about the car, because many folks will ask this question: well, is this car supposed to be this way? Is it supposed to be this loud? Or is this not normal? Is this car supposed to be not this smooth? Or this is normal? A Toyota technician should know that, because they've driven the brand new one, and they've driven ones as they progress with miles and age. So that's the first thing that the technician will drive the car. You know, I'll take the car on the street, go drive it, and immediately pick up multiple things. Is it vibrating? Is there noises? Is there something abnormal? Is the transmission shifting right? Does the engine sound right? Did this car warm up quick enough? Is the AC or heater working right? These are all the things. As we're driving, we're kind of listening to everything and seeing how everything feels, because that could be a deal breaker right there. If everything is messed up, something can be catastrophic. Does the car pull straight? Does it drive right? Does, you know, all these basic functions, just the basic drive from cold, did the transmission start slipping when it was cold, etc., etc. We can go on and on, but you get the idea here. But the biggest thing is, do you know what is a known good example? And that's the hard part when you go inspect a used car, when you don't know what is the known good example. Having said that, after this whole test drive, which is usually a much longer test drive, we bring it in the shop and we start looking at the first thing, which is the biggest deal breaker. So the first deal breaker, and the most common one that I see, the certified cars get knocked off certification and they either go to the auction, either become just an as-is used car, just a normal non-certified car, is bodywork. So if you read the inspection sheet, which I'll show you the inspection sheet later in the video, they tell you walk around, make sure the body is dent-free, no incorrect repairs and whatnot. But in reality, there is a rule for that. And the rule is, you do not want major collisions, not small accidents. So I'm backing out of my driveway and I ding this door. Well, that's a small accident. There was no collision with another car where the integrity of the body got compromised, potentially. So if I bend this door in, and then I take it to a body shop, they repair this, they paint the door, they do a good job on the paint, they blend it into the back door and the fender. That is a typical practice in body repair. That panel now is painted. However, that is not a major collision. We're not going to knock a car off certification because of that. So here comes the 3-panel rule. You want the entire body of the car, excluding the plastic bumper covers, because those typically get a lot of dings and scratches. That is normal. Excluding those and excluding plastic trim, like this wheel arch right here, we want no more than 3-panel body work. That means this is a panel, the door, the front fender is a panel, the back door is a panel. If I have more than 3 panels that have been painted or had any body work done on them, it automatically disqualifies the car from certification. If you get in a front end accident, this fender is going to get jammed in the door, the hood will be destroyed. So there's your hood got painted, your fender got painted, your door got painted, and then they had to blend into the 4th door, the 4th panel, and now you have 4 panels. But it goes so much deeper than that. So I'm going to show you some things that you can actually do when you're going to buy a used car to basically apply these methods to inspect these cars. The number one thing is, you never inspect a car outside for body work. You will never be able to see the true color unless you're indoors with good, very good lighting. Most dealerships will have shops with really good lighting because technicians work and we need a lot of light. So you want to scan the profile of the car. This is the initial inspection, by the way. We're going to go into it a little deeper. You're going to look at the initial impression of the car. Do I see anything that stands out? Typically dirt in the paint, and I work with Toyota. Toyotas have some of the highest quality paints out there. So finding dirt in the paint is like very, very minimal, and maybe you'll find one speck throughout the whole car, Maybe not. So when you find a panel that's been painted before, you might find 3-4 specks here and there. Even the best painters, you will have a couple spots where you will see when you're really looking for them. So that's the initial inspection. And again, experience comes in when we're used to seeing the paint when the car is new, so we can tell what kind of orange peel it has, what kind of color depth it has, what kind of sheen and shine that it should have. So that is the initial inspection. And usually badly repaired panels, they'll scream at you in good light. Like where we're standing right here, we're looking. Do you see how the shine is uniform? This is an original paint. Now this car is certified. This one does not have any panel damage at all. So this is a good example because I'll show you the second method. When I suspect, like I see something, because sometimes you'll get a tiny scratch, someone will buff it a little too heavy, and I'll see some marks in the paint. When I see a panel that is suspect, I'm going to bring my best friend that I never use otherwise. This is a paint depth gauge. And when I put this paint depth gauge on the panel, we're going to get 3.5 mils. Now, if you're in the painting world, that is paper thin. That is super thin. How do you know what is normal? I work on these cars every day. I know whether their paint is thin. But what if you're looking at another car? Look on the roof. Typically, when cars get in an accident, unless it's a major accident where even the roof got painted, which at that point you will easily catch it because something catastrophic happened here. Compare the roof. Like you can get one of these. They are a little expensive, but it might be a good investment if you buy it between family members. When they buy cars, they go inspect them. But you just put it on the paint and it'll tell you the thickness. I got 3.5 here. I got 4.0 here. That is very close. When you are scanning across the car and all of a sudden, this is 3.5, this is 4, this is 3, somewhere close. And all of a sudden you have one panel that is 14. Something happened there. Now you've identified an issue. Now we're going to zone in that. Did they blend? Because even when they blend, you'll have this area thicker paint and they'll get thinner and thinner and thinner and back to original because they blended into it. Sometimes it'll be even thicker because if they redid the whole clear coat. This is how you start noticing. And let's talk about something else. The door edges. If you pass your hand here, this is a smooth edge. Because when they painted this at the factory, they painted the inside and the outside at the same time. But when you go paint only the outside, good body shops will actually paint the whole thing. Medium to low quality paint jobs, the ones that are done on the quick, they will tape it right here. And if you pass your hand here, you actually feel the tape line. That is your immediate telltale sign. We haven't even gotten to structural damage and the big stuff. This is just small stuff. Any car that has more than 3-panel bodywork, it already got disqualified and we won't even go through the rest of the inspection. Speaking of the rest of the inspection, and begins the inspection. First inspection is under the hood. I'm going to check everything, make sure all the fluids are good. But before I do that, I've already test drove the car, so I already have an idea of if I saw anything or heard anything or didn't like anything in that test drive. I'm going to check on it now. We're not checking maintenance items at this point. I'm not going to check the battery. I'm not going to check the air filter yet because now I am still trying to find out, is this a certifiable car? Am I going to find a disaster here that is going to push it off to the auction and off she goes? We're going to look at everything, anything that stands out. And this is where part 2 of bodywork comes in because some body shops will do a phenomenal job or it's really hard to tell unless you start digging further. We'll remove some panels, we'll start looking around, see if anything out of the ordinary, and here's where experience comes in. Again, you've seen these cars new, and now you're seeing them after 2-3 years. By the way, Toyota certifies are up to 6 years or younger, not up to 6 years, because it could be 6 years old, and 85,000 miles or less. So this one actually happens to be on the higher end of that spectrum, a little bit, not by age, but by miles. So we really want to spend time. We're going to listen to the engine. We're going to look around, see if anything stands out here from an initial inspection. One thing stands out right now to me is the battery. Now the battery is not original on this car. However, I'm not going to just say, oh, this is not original battery, it's garbage. No, because something like a battery is not a major concern at this point. But I'm going to look at it. Is this the correct size? Is this the correct rating? Is this a correct battery for this car? and it is in this case, so we're good. Then I'm going to look at aftermarket stuff that are not good. If I see an aftermarket alternator, I'm going to test it. If I see an aftermarket starter, I'm going to test it, because just because something is aftermarket, we're not going to just automatically say it's garbage. No, we're going to investigate it and see what's going on and why was it replaced on such a young car. And then last but not least, we're going to do a computer scan, make sure there are no codes. No, again, we're still looking for disasters to disqualify this car. Let's raise the car up and again, continue seeing if this car is worthy of being certified or not. Let's do the undercar inspection. Now, before I do that, I've been putting up videos for some time on common problems for Toyotas, and some people have accused me of trying to say Toyota is not a good car. They're fabulous cars. But I do these videos, so when you come inspect a car that you're buying, you ask the salesman, hey, put it up in the air, I want to look at it. You can know what you are looking for. Because I see so many people do this at the dealership where I work. They bring the car in, lift it up, and here's this potential buyer looking at the car, missing everything they should be checking everything that is irrelevant, and just irrelevant fluff, basically. So if you're buying a model, research common problems for that model and write them down. Go look at them. For example, we are under a 2018 RAV4. Are they common for ball joint problems? They are not. Are they common for leaks? Not the 2018, but if you're looking at 13 to 15, they would be. So we're going to look at the common problems first. Anything that stands out, we're going to stop, reassess, talk to sales. Because if this car has a catastrophic oil leak, we're going to investigate why it happened. But that could be a deal breaker where sales says, I'm not liking this car. We're not going to tear into this car, pull the trans out, and start sealing stuff. This is not certified. We're just going to get rid of it or fix it, sell it as a regular used car, and that's it. But we don't want major work on certified cars, because that's the whole point. That is a nice car to begin with. So our inspection starts from the front. We're still on the body part. We're going to look at the frame rails. We're going to look at everything, make sure there's no structural damage. Structural damage is the end. Out you goes, we're done. We're not even selling it on the lot. As we walk back, we're going to look at oil leaks. We're going to look at suspension, make sure everything is good. Right now, we're not looking at maintenance item. We're going to inspect everything underneath. Is there anything that stands out, accident-wise, damage-wise? Even you ran over something on the street and damage underneath. We're going to look at all that. Walk into the back. I'm going to also look at the frame rails in the back, look at the sides, make sure I didn't miss anything in my initial inspection. Now we've checked this car. Looks good. I'm liking it here. Doesn't seem like there's any deal breakers with the certified car. So here's what we're going to do next. We're going to start with our maintenance items. Now we're looking at, okay, this car is certifiable. Now let's get it up to par. If it's missing anything in maintenance, if it's missing anything else that we need to take care of, nothing major, just little stuff. Folks typically use, most certified cars are lease returns, 4-year-old cars that people just got bored with the car and they traded it in because the newer model came out and whatnot. Usually these are the certified cars, or the majority of them. We'll talk a little bit about the disasters with certified cars that you absolutely need to know about later in the video, but at this point, we're going to look at your tires. This may vary between manufacturers, but for example, Toyota, the minimum tread depth should be 5/32. Brakes should not be below 50%. Not worn, 50%. If they are 50%, you got to replace them. Going back to the tires, they need to be matching tires of the correct speed rating and size. We can't have oversized tires. We can't have mismatched tires, even if this is not an all-wheel drive car. Still, they need to be matching tires with the correct speed rating, with the correct load rating, the correct tire for the car. It doesn't have to be the original brand, but it needs to be the correct tire for the car. Same thing with the brakes. And this is the one that kind of gets into the aftermarket stuff. Brakes are considered safety items. We're not going to just let go of a car with unknown aftermarket brakes. So that's a big deal that some dealerships usually miss, and they say, their brakes are look brand new, we're good. Because usually these cars, again, they're not too old. They might have brand new aftermarket brakes. But are these $50 brakes or $400 brakes? How do you know? And are you going to put your dealership's name and reputation with this? It's not worth it. Just replace the brakes and have a nice day. Then we're going to go under the hood and do our maintenance inspection now, or little stuff inspection. We're going to check the filters. We're going to check the battery, test it. We're going to look at the oil condition. Then we're going to dive into the service history. Does this car need maintenance? What kind of miles does it have? Wait, does this car have 30,000 miles? Do we need to replace differential fluid? Do we need to do any kind of other maintenance? Are the filters due? Is the brake fluid due? How is that doing? We're going to start looking into everything to see what this car needs. If it's overdue on some maintenance. Now, you rarely get a car that has 120,000 miles because they're capped at 85. So spark plugs are not the case. However, some newer Toyota models, spark plugs are due at 60,000 miles. So you got to replace them at that point. This car needs to be up to date on maintenance currently. And another thing is, good dealerships will actually look at this car and go like, is there a maintenance that's going to be due in the next 2,000-3,000 miles? Like, let's say spark plugs is 60K and you're at 57,000. Well, are you going to sell this car to this customer as a certified car and have him come back in 3,000 miles and pay for a spark plug replacement? Good dealerships won't do that. They'll just take care of the maintenance. That way you take this car to your next service, to your following service. You won't need anything because your brakes are at least 50%, your tires are good, everything else has been taken care of, so you're not going to be doing heavy maintenance as soon as you buy the car. Now, once we are past the disaster zone, first, the stuff that disqualifies this car from certification, and we are past the basic maintenance stuff, just whatever this car needs, we're going to list it. We're going to go inside, and even outside in some cases, we're going to do our function test. We're going to make sure every little thing works, and I mean every little thing. Mirrors, windows, electronics, safety devices, and some of the stuff we've already tested in our test drive, stuff like cruise control, adaptive cruise control, parking sensors, adaptive parking, whatever the case may be, all these systems get checked and rechecked because, again, this is a certified car. AC, heater performance, not just it works, no, is it good? It needs to be perfect, remember. So we're going to go through everything in this car to make sure everything is 100% correct, down to the most important thing, especially in Toyotas, the floor mats. Make sure they are correct, make sure they clips on the floor, because this could be a safety hazard, and this is actually something very important. Make sure that the floor mats that are with the car, you know, most of these used cars that have the floor mats thrown in the back, they don't want them getting dirty until they deliver it. But I'm going to take these floor mats, make sure they fit, make sure they're right, then go in the back, make sure my spare tire is there, all the tools, everything, nothing is missing. The owner's manual is there. We have 2 keys and they both work and there's nothing wrong. And the list goes on and on. We basically test everything in the car, and this is something you absolutely should do when you buy a car, because it's really the worst thing in the world when you buy a car, then the next day you find out, oh, my rear windows don't work, oh my god, my seat doesn't move because it's broken, and now you already bought it and you might be on your own at that point. So check everything, spend the time. If the salesman is yip-yapping in your ear, just tell him, you know what, could you just give me a minute here? I need to look at everything. Give me a minute. Go have a cup of coffee, come back while I check the car. And a few other things that are standard with certified cars. We're going to replace the wiper blades or wiper inserts, depends on the car and model. We're going to change the oil at this point. And then another thing that gets checked is the radios. Now remember, these new cars, they have radios, and these radios have software updates and things. We make sure that the radio update is the latest version always, because it is the worst thing in the world when you've done all this work on the inspection. You present this car to the customer, and guess what? The radio has problems because it needs an update. You just failed your customer because now they missed everything that you've done to the car, but the main thing that they want doesn't work, and this is horrible. So that is one that is usually actually missed. At this point, I have went through the car, checked it out, spent some time with it. Now me and the car have become either best buddies or worst enemies. If we are best buddies, this car is certifiable. Here's what this car needs for me to certify it. And as a technician, we even list body stuff. So if this car has dings, have scratches, I'm going to list all of it. If the seats need cleaning, if the car is looks heavily worn, I might actually knock it off certification, because you can clean the carpet, but you can't really start ripping into the car, replace the whole car carpet because it's all torn apart or the seats are torn. This is too much, but a little scuff here, a little mark there, we can fix that, and that's not a big deal. We're again still looking at a car that's not abused and neglected. So I report my findings to sales, and typically, you know, car has 40-50,000 miles, brakes usually below 50%, tires are likely the typical stuff with these. Do an alignment on the car after the tires, replace the wipers, do an oil change, maybe filters, maybe not. Some cars will have minor oil leaks here and there, you know, filters leaking, oil pans leaking, small little stuff here and there. Some of them will have a water pump. You know, a water pump is not a major repair here, so you need a new water pump because it's just starting to leak. I don't like this. This is a certified car. Sales will make a decision at that point. Depends, you know, I'm not going to get into sales land because that's a whole different world, but they will decide, are we going to certify this car and spend all the small fortune, or are we going to just let her go and see ya? Now, as I film this video, we are in the strange times of the end of 2021 where used cars are so scarce that they just don't exist. So these treasures that I'm working with right now, used cars, they're very hard to find. They are trying more and more to really spend money on these cars. I remember days where we used to get a certified car that is a little bit up on the miles, a little bit up on the age, like closer within that limit, where the sales department says, nah, it's not worth it, just send it to the auction. This thing needs tires, needs brakes, maybe needs a wheel bearing. Nah, too much work, send it off. They don't do that anymore. They fix everything and anything, unless it is something major and catastrophic, which indicates this car didn't have a good life. Let's briefly talk about a few things that would actually disqualify this car from certification as well. Any modifications, cold air intake, ECU, chip, whatever, not certified, have a nice day, even if you go put the original stuff back. Once you start modifying cars for performance, especially a Toyota Land, unless it's a Supra or something like that, what are you doing to yourself? This car gets disqualified because I don't know how this owner drove it. Did he beat on it? I'm driving it here, I'm trying my best here, but I didn't take it on the highway, drive it 3 hours. So these are signs that this thing is no good. Have a nice day. Another thing is aftermarket accessories that are improperly installed. You have a trailer hitch, it's fine if it's aftermarket. Is it mounted properly? Did they install it to the original mounting points? But is there a wire wrapped around the exhaust to go to the front for the battery? That's improper install. That either needs to be taken off, corrected, or it's no go for a certify. And the next two I've lightly covered on them, but let's recap them here in one section. Excessive wear and tear. Now, I get in a car, carpet's a little dirty, seat has a few scuffs on it, the interior, there's a few scratches here and there, but nothing major. But I get in a car, the carpet's worn down to the metal, the seats are ripped and just torn apart basically, and the interior has gouges and pieces broken and missing. This is not normal for a up to 6-year-old car, has 85,000 miles. This is someone that just beat this car and didn't take care of it. This is not certified. Have a nice day. It's not worth it. And then the other thing is inconsistencies in their service records. Now, I see this car. It had an oil change when it was new, and then here it is at 70,000 miles. Well, where's the rest of it? Yes, it could have gone to an aftermarket shop. It could have gone, guy could have done it himself, but if I'm not liking this car and I see that, this is a problem, because was this car neglected? There are certain things that even the best mechanic in the world can't tell you. This is God honest, and any mechanics watching, I can't predict the future with this car. I can do my due diligence right now, but there are certain things that you cannot know until you drive the car. Not drive it around the block, drive it for a month, 2, 3. So if I see any signs that this car was not taken care of, she gets knocked off certification because it ain't worth it. I'd rather deal with the sales manager getting a little upset at me than deal with a potential owner that paid a small fortune and now they're stuck with a car that was not taken care of by the previous owner. Now, after I've certified the car, it's certifiable, we fixed anything that it needs, and everything is a-okay, my journey is about to come to an end with my new best friend here. So, we're going to fill out the inspection form. Now, this is specific to Toyota. Every manufacturer might have one different or might not have one at all. I don't know about other manufacturers. This is a 160-point inspection, quality assurance inspection check sheet. Now, most Toyota technicians will know this by heart, because you've done thousands and thousands over the years of certified inspections, but we're going to fill this out And one thing for owners, and this is something you might want to know if you're buying a Toyota Certified, you're actually supposed to get a copy of this. And I say supposed to, because I've seen so many dealers don't give it out, which is a big no-no, but that's how it is. You're basically going to sign this. I'm going to sign this that I did the mechanical inspection and I gave recommendations on like body repairs. Okay, this car has a ding here, ding there, needs to be fixed, taken care of, life's good. Once the used car manager takes care of these things, he will sign it, and then he's liable for these recommendations that we gave him. And then the service manager will also sign it, because basically he's the head of the department. He said, my technician went through this, signed it, I also signed it, I looked at everything that he did. And then the last signature is actually your signature when you buy the car. The original copy stays with the dealership, stays with the file of the certified car, and one of the copies, this is a carbon copy, you know, multiple copies here, one of them goes to you, the new owner. So this is actually good, because you could tell from the signature who are the guys that certified this car and when did they certify it. That is something that many dealerships unfortunately don't do. So if you go buy a certified, ask for this sheet, because it belongs to you and you need to sign that. Otherwise, it's incomplete paperwork for this car to become certified. And alongside that little inspection, every manufacturer will have a different period for warranty. But for Toyota Land, as the date of filming this video, it's 1 year, 12,000 miles on everything, if the car is out of the factory comprehensive warranty, which is like 3 years, 36 in the US. But it gets 7 years, 100,000 miles of powertrain warranty. So there's a little booklet that you also should get with this sheet when it's done that explains what is covered and what is not, and everything in detail. I always tell you, any warranty you buy, you gotta know what it covers, but most importantly, what it doesn't cover. And that booklet covers everything, and you can actually ask any dealership to share that with you. You can go through it, look it up. Is it worth it to buy a certified, or just buy a used car with aftermarket extended warranty? You can make that decision on your own. Now let's talk about some red flags for you when you're going to buy a certified car. Unfortunately, these are things that some dealerships will pass through. They're not a good idea, and it usually ends up in disaster, almost always. But to avoid that mess for you, here are a few things. First, avoid rental cars, ex-rental cars that became somehow certified. You'll see those here and there. Usually it's that one certified car that's cheaper than the rest. Look at the Carfax, because there's actually not a rule in the certification that it cannot be an ex-rental car. If it's in good shape and passes inspection, sure, it does pass the inspection. But has this car had a good life? I wouldn't want to risk it with a certified car. Another thing is, if you go and you watch this video and you go look at a certified car and you see some of the stuff that we talked about were missed, and you can easily see them, I would question the technician that actually did this certification. Now, things happen, mistakes happen, I understand that, but we're not in the planet of fixing mistakes. You're just trying to buy a decent car for yourself. Just walk away from that and have the dealership deal with their disaster. It's not your problem. Make sure you check the car. Just because it's certified doesn't mean, look, we're all humans, we're all imperfect, by the way. So things can get missed. Things happen. That's why you gotta do your due diligence. You're the one shelling out a small fortune for this car. You gotta do your due diligence. Look at the car. So I understand, folks, some people don't know much about cars, some people are not sure, but you've watched this video, you've seen me do these things. At least try to look at the things that I've talked about. Look at the paint, look at the obvious red flag. And then the last one that I see always as a potential problem. Try not to buy certified cars that are borderline. So in Toyota's case, 6 years or younger, 85,000 miles or less. Let's say you go buy a car, it has 84,500. Well, that's way too close. Or it's 2 weeks from being 7 years old. That's a little too close. And that's how you can tell these dealerships are desperate. Not desperate dealerships will look at this and be like, it's too close, not worth it, forget it. We'll just sell it as a regular used car, cheaper, somebody will buy it, and it's okay, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just too close to be certified. Your brilliant certified range is going to be from new all the way to 5 years old. That's the safe range, I would say. And then again, from new potentially all the way to 70,000 miles, especially in Toyota land. Typically, this is the miles where you're still in the honeymoon period. There's nothing really major wrong with these cars, and anything that happens with them, they're usually taken care of, warranty, whatnot, all this good stuff. Well, there you have it, folks. That is the certified inspection process. There's a lot of steps, and we condensed it in this relatively long video, but it's actually a very long process that involves multiple departments. Everybody's looking at, and then the manufacturer is breathing down the dealership to make sure that they follow their guidelines. And trust me, when things go south, they really go south, especially with certified cars, because if a customer brings back a car and they find a disaster, it is a bigger disaster for the dealership. I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribe to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. And until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.